Spumco would officially return to television work in 1999 with several shorts based on Hanna-Barbera properties. But before we get into the stuff for TV, let's tend to the last of the Flash cartoons they did and work backwards from there. Starting with the second Jetsons short they did in 2002, The Best Son, where George and Jane discuss what their son Elroy just did, ending with them getting a robotic son. The solid colors from their internet cartoons are brought over here, and there's more fluid animation here than in them. Spumco always strived for extreme and different expressions for their characters, but this is probably one of the times where it looks out of place for the Jetsons. John had drawn them for their 1980s revival, but not to this degree. George and Jane look far too ugly here. Applying the Spumco style on top of Ed Benedict styled characters to this degree is too off-putting, bringing down the atrocious things Elroy reportedly did. The sound quality in this cartoon is much clearer than in the ones they made for the internet.
During lunch break, he got caught up shoplifting at the Zip and Hasty Flying Astro Market.
Elroy, if I told you once, I told you a million times. If you're gonna steal something, don't get caught!
The Best Son is a neat little idea, but it had an underwhelming execution. That same year in Boo Boo and the Man, Boo Boo gets ganged up on by the big boys, gets beaten up, and Ranger Smith sits down for a talk. The crux of this short, everyone thinking Yogi is a man, is appropriately strange for Spumco, but it doesn't work in the universe of Jellystone. It worked with the bullies who picked on Boo Boo because of his friendship with Yogi, as it would get under your skin, but not with Ranger Smith, who has known Yogi for a while. And before we get that moment, he sits Boo Boo down to have a conversation about bullies and saying he should just grin and bear their antics. He doesn't promise to look out for him, he doesn't teach him how to defend himself in the event that he confronts them again. He just sends him on his way when Yogi comes along to pick him up. This one was more fluidly animated than the previous internet cartoons, but this was the wrong kind of nonsensical. We come back to the 60s idea of the future with Father and Son Day, Spumco's first Jetsons short from 2001, where George and Elroy take a day off work and school to spend a day together at home. So what do they do on their day off? They shave various things using a remote-controlled razor. I guess Stimpy was ahead of his time with that shaver. There were some predictable gags with the device. Apart from that, there was George being uncomfortable at the sight of Elroy dressed as Jane, which was okay. But ultimately, the rest of the picture is pretty forgettable. We're now fully into their work on TV when we return to Jellystone for A Day in the Life of Ranger Smith. The cartoon takes us through one workday of the park ranger, partaking in making up frustrating rules for the animals to follow, enforcing them, and punishing those who don't abide by them. The animation in this cartoon is mostly okay for what to expect from a Spumco television production, but there are moments that stand out, like the characters sliding around in the frame instead of animating a walk cycle, and a sequence where they cycle through a bunch of designs for Smith. I suspect this is a reference to Yogi Bear's early days, where the characters took on slightly different looks. That was the most interesting part about the cartoon, visually. The humor in this was fine. Bits like Ranger Smith pausing after a log and before saying cabin, him getting into fights with animals in the dark, and him kicking the sun to start the day are fine stuff. Him watching Yogi and Boo Boo shower was creepy though. The tour through Ranger Smith's workday was a step better than the one we saw before it in this video. We end this trip through their Cartoon Network short with Boo Boo Runs Wild. In it, Yogi's little buddy snaps under the pressure Ranger Smith added with creating new rules, making him go feral, and Yogi sets out to find a way to turn him back to normal. The most interesting part is when Boo Boo snaps after Ranger Smith lays down a new rule that says he can't tear the bark off the trees, leading to this delightful moment. From what I could gather from this moment, and given his history with unimaginative network executives, Boo Boo is taking John's place, and Ranger Smith are the executives who keep making up rules they'll inconsistently enforce. That moment was the one part of this cartoon I could really sink my teeth into. This cartoon is 20 minutes long. Boo Boo's blow up happens at around 5 minutes. The next 8 minutes are spent watching the little guy wander around in his feral state, steal food for others, and Yogi's girl, Cindy. And Yogi flipping between trying to help him snap out of it, or leaving him alone thinking it'll sort itself out. When that passes, he comes to Smith for help with Boo Boo. When the ranger gets an order from the higher-ups to put him down, however, the ensuing scuffle is emotionally intense, and it's made great by some of Spumco's best animation. Apparently this and a day took John 2 years to finish. Work was revised so many times that Rough Draft Korea refused to do any more, so Spumco had to do them themselves. John became very impatient with his clients whenever they asked about when these will be done. He responded by promising an extra minute of animation to extend it to another 3 months. This is like a similar situation to the Ren and Stimpy episode Stimpy's Invention, because it looks incredible. Boo Boo running wild is perhaps the best thing to come from the studio's Cartoon Network shorts. The animation is impressive, and John gave us interesting and emotional moments.